So we will be covering the differences between the standard policy and the small exporter policy. I already told you that the policies are basically, these policies are issued by the ECGC for a short term exports period, but the small exporter policy is basically, it is tailored so as to cater the needs of the small exporters. Okay, so it is that both these policies are declaration type policies, but in the case of the small exporter policies, the declarations of the shipments to be made on quarterly basis. In the case of the standard policies, these declarations are to be made on monthly basis, but in the case of the small exporters policies, the declarations related to the shipments are to be made on quarterly basis. The standard policy is issued for a period of 24 months from the date of the contract ahead, and further the small exporter policy is issued for a period of 12 months. It is issued for a period of 12 months, whereas the standard policy is issued for a period of 24 months. And it is issued, the standard policy is issued to the exporters where the annual export turnover is greater than 50 lakhs. Where the annual export turnover is greater than 50 lakhs, standard policy is issued in that particular case. And the small exporter policy is issued to those exporters where the annual export turnover is not greater than 500 lakhs, that is 5 crore rupees. Okay, if the annual export turnover is not greater than 5 crore rupees, and further there is a requirement of the payment of the minimum premium, that is 5,000 rupees. That is 5,000 rupees. Previously this amount was 2,000 rupees, but now it is 5,000 rupees. Previously the annual export turnover required was 50 lakh rupees, but now it is a 500 lakh rupees. Is that clear? So that is the basic difference between both of these policies and the risks that which this policy cover. So both the risk, whether it is a political risk or the commercial risk, these risks are covered under these policies. Whether it is a case of the standard policy or it is a case of the small exporter policy, both the policies cover the political risk as well as the commercial risk. There are different variants in this particular regard. Okay, so that was regarding the update. So now let us have a look at some questions based upon that. So first question for today, it says, which of the following risk is covered by ECGC under its standard policy? So which of the following risk is covered by ECGC under its standard policy? Commercial dispute raised by the buyer, exchange rate fluctuation risk, failure of the exporter to fulfill the terms of export contract, none of the above. So we need to tell that which of the followings, which of the risks are covered in this particular case under the standard policy by the ECGC. So standard policy is basically a declaration type policy which is issued for shipments ahead in 24 months, and further this policy is issued to those exporters who are having the projected annual export turnover greater than that of the 50 lakh rupees. So kindly please confirm the right answer over here. You need to mark the right answer so that we could proceed. Kindly do mark the answer at the earliest so that we could proceed. So the options are already there. You just need to mark the right answer. You just need to mark the right answer in this particular regard. So kindly do answer at the earliest. So the question says, which of the following risk is covered by ECGC under its standard policy? We need to just tell that which of the risks are covered by the ECGC under the standard policy. So the different options are given. So it is given related to the commercial dispute raised. So if it covers exchange rate fluctuation risk, or it covers failure of the exporter to fulfill the terms of export contracts. So the correct answer over here will be, kindly please do answer at the earliest. Jaldi se jaldi answer kijiyega. The correct answer over here will be option D. The correct answer will be option D here, that is none of the above, because it covers the commercial risk and as well as the political risk. It covers the commercial risk and the political risk, and none of the risk above explained. None of the risk above explained. Next question, it says, the risk that the buyer faces relating to the seller not shipping the goods after receiving the advance payment. It is buyer risk, seller risk, shipping risk, or credit risk. What type of risk it is? The risk that the buyer faces relating to the seller not shipping the goods even after receiving the advance payment. It is buyer risk or seller risk, shipping risk, or credit risk. So the risk which is imposed due to non-shipment of the goods by the seller, it is basically what type of risk? It is seller risk, because this particular type of risk is imposed by the seller itself, by the exporter itself. So this is covered under what type of risk category? It is covered under the seller risk category. So the correct answer over here will be option B. So the correct answer over here will be option B. Next question, it says the risk that the seller faces relating to non-acceptability, non-payment, quality acceptance, etc. is called what type of risk? So the risk which is faced by the seller itself, by the exporter itself, it may be the case that the seller has shipped the goods, but there is non-payment. There is non-payment because the buyer has previously maybe has paid the advance money, but he has not paid the full money. Okay, it may be the case there is non-payment, and further it may be the case related to the quality acceptance, that the particular quality of the goods is not accepted by the buyer itself. Okay, so that type of risk is imposed by whom? That is imposed by the buyer. So it is categorized as buyer risk. So it is said to be as the buyer risk. That is option A over here. So option A over here is the right answer. Okay, next question, it is related to which of the following events relate to seller risk? Which of the following events relate to seller risk? Seller shipping the poor quality of goods. Seller may ship the goods with considerable delay. Delay by seller leading to cancellation of the order. So which one of the followings are covered under the seller risk category, which relate to the seller risk category? We need to identify the same. So kindly please look at the first statement. It says seller shipping the poor quality of goods. So if the seller is shipping the inferior quality of the goods, that is related to the seller risk itself. Okay, because the buyer has not ordered inferior quality goods na. So that is basically a risk imposed to the buyer due to the seller itself. So it is related to seller risk. Second statement, it says seller may ship the goods with a considerable delay. It may be the case that the seller has shipped the goods. Seller has shipped the goods, but there is considerable delay, due to which it may be the case that the buyer has to face the losses. Okay, it may be the case because the buyer itself was not unable to complete the orders. It may be the case na that the seller is to ship the goods, and further the buyer over here is further to make the shipment. Okay, if he is a trader, if he or she is a trader, in that particular case the goods received are to be further shipped again. Now if there is delay on the part of the seller itself, the buyer itself will not be able to fulfill the commitment over there, and there will be a loss, and so that it is also a risk imposed by the seller itself. So it is seller risk. And further, delay by seller leading to cancellation of order. It may also be the case that there is considerable delay by the seller, due to which the buyer has to cancel the order. That is also related to what? That is also related to what type of risk? It is a seller risk itself. It is a seller risk itself. So what would be the answer? So kindly do answer. What would be the right answer? It will be option 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, that is option D will be the right answer in this particular regard. So option D is the right answer. Option D over here is the right answer. Next question, it says which of the following services is provided by ECGC? So what type of services are being provided by the ECGC? Credit risk insurance cover to exporter. Definitely it provides the credit risk insurance. Okay, different policies are over there. And further, guarantees to banks. So financial guarantees are also extended to the banks so as to enable the exporters to obtain the credit facilities. Otherwise the banks would have been reluctant so as to extend the credit facilities to the exporters, because the banks are of the thinking that it may be the case that they will be lending the amounts to the exporters and they will not be able to get it back. Okay, so the financial guarantees are extended by the banks, by the ECGC to the banks, and further it is escalating the amount of credit to the exporter itself. Okay, that is also true. So and third, it says to provide credit reports of the overseas buyers, that I already told you. Okay, so it is in the indulge in the services related to providing the adequate insurance cover to the exporters and financial guarantees to the banks. And third, it is related to the provide credit reports of the overseas banks. Okay, so all three are correct. Fourth, it says providing direct credit to the exporters. So is ECGC indulged in providing direct credit to the exporters? No, it is not so. Okay, it is under the factoring services. It is under the factoring services, but those services are provided by the ECGC full-fledged factoring services. Okay, that's a subsidiary which is formed. Okay, so that is not direct credit to the exporter itself. So no direct credit is provided. So 1, 2, 3 statements are correct. So accordingly, option D over here is the right answer. Option D over here is the right answer. Question number 5070. Next question, it says, which of the following events are not the cause for shipping risk? It is not the cause for shipping risk. Now, what is a shipping risk? So now, when there is no risk imposed by the buyer or seller itself, but there may be some risk related to the third parties which are there in between. Because when the seller has shipped the goods and further the goods are not received by the buyer yet, there is a risk in between due to the mishandling of the goods. It may be the case that the goods are mishandled. It may be the case that there is negligence related to that. Okay, and as per that, those are all risks are covered into the category of the shipping risk. Okay, so we need to tell which of the following events are not the cause for the shipping risk. Okay, which of the following is not a type of shipping risk. So option A over here, it says negligence by the handling agent, negligence by the port authorities, non-performance by the local transporter, or option D, that is none of the above. So which one of the following would be the right answer, and which will not be categorized under the shipping risk category and will not be categorized under the shipping risk category? Which one will be the right answer over here? So you need to answer at the earliest. So option D is clearly would be the right answer, because all of these three options are related to the shipping risk or related to the shipping risk. Next question over here, it says the port staff has gone on strike. The port staff has gone on strike due to which the shipment has been delayed. Due to which the shipment is delayed. This will be classified as shipment risk, country risk, credit risk, or forex risk. What type of risk it is? The port staff has gone on strike due to which the shipment has been delayed. What type of risk it is? Where, in what category it would be categorized? It would be related to the shipment risk or country risk or credit risk or the foreign exchange risk. What type of risk this would be? It is related to what type of risk? This one is related to what type of risk? You need to answer at the earliest. You need to answer at the earliest what type of risk it is. This one is the shipment risk. Clearly, this one is the shipment risk. So answer would be option A over here. The answer will be option A over here. Okay. Next, it says, next question, it is related to, for country risk classification, ECGC has how many fold classification covering more than 200 countries? I already told you that the Reserve Bank of India has given the guidelines related to the country risk, that it says each and every bank must be having its own criteria for the country rating purposes, for the country risk rating purposes. And further, if a bank is not having its own criteria, they can adopt the criteria. They can adopt the country risk rating criteria, which is based upon the ECGC India, which is based upon the ECGC for India. Okay. Now the criteria, the risk classification for criteria by the ECGC is a 7-fold criteria. It is a 7-fold criteria. There are different classifications related to A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, and the D category. So this is basically pertaining the countries related to the very high risk category or the negligible risk category. Okay, as per that. And further, where the exposure related to one country is exceeding 1% of the total assets as on the preceding balance sheet, in that particular case, the provision is to be maintained in all those particular cases. The provision is to be maintained in all those particular cases. And what do you mean by those assets? It means, so whatsoever amounts you have invested abroad, whatsoever amounts you have invested overseas, whatsoever amount has been lent overseas. Okay, so all, and whatsoever investments you have made overseas, so all those amounts would be covered. So whatsoever deposits you have maintained overseas outside India, whatsoever investments have been made, and whatsoever lending has been done, so those all will be covered under the country exposure. Okay, and if it exceeds 1% of the amount, in that particular case, the provision is to be maintained. For this particular question, the answer will be option B, that is 7-fold criteria. That is a 7-fold classification.